Hey everyone, welcome to Creativity Connects with Mikki Wilson, a creative collective podcast where we go beyond the brand and dive into the real journeys of women in business. You guessed it. I'm Mikki Wilson, your host, a fellow team member of Creative Collective, and the founder of Dot Connector Consulting. A lot of people know me as the Dot Connector because I bring women together, create spaces and places for real connections, and help build collaborative relationships that move your work forward. Creative Collective is a business support program that provides modern resources, strategy, and community for small businesses and creators. Through this podcast, we are highlighting the incredible women in the Creative Collective membership, sharing their relatable stories, the messy middles, and the meaningful moments that rarely get seen but totally deserve to be celebrated. And today, I'm talking to my fabulous friend, Jenni Stuart. And I know this is going to be a powerful conversation when somebody tells me that you have an incredible story that I don't know about. So first of all, I'm jealous and we need to know about this today. But I just want to welcome you to the podcast.
Thanks.
Glad to be here. She's glad to be here. Yeah. This is Jenni's first podcast.
It's true.
And we're very excited because I told Jenni we need to elevate her value, her visibility, her voice, all the things because this is a powerhouse that you all are going to be introduced to today. So let me tell you a little bit about Jenni Stuart. Jenni is a classically trained goldsmith and the founder of Jenni Stuart Fine Jewelry, a business rooted in craftsmanship, custom design, and meaningful connection. Her studio specializes in engagement and wedding rings, in-house repairs, and permanent jewelry, all created with ethically sourced materials and an intentional eye. But beyond that sparkle, Jenni is a maker with a story, and today we get to hear it, and you are already a blessing because I have a gold chain from my dad that the clasp has broken, and I've been thinking, where am I going to take this thing to somebody I trust because I have trust issues and I've lost jewelry in the past, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. And I now know where to go bring this.
I might know someone.
I love this, right? I love when we know somebody.
I might be someone.
You might be connected. I love this. She's the link, no pun intended.
Ayo.
So let's get into, I love to explore the who, the how, and the why behind the brand, the business, and what really brought you to do what you do and the way that you do it. So I'm going to dive in because you are known for your beautiful custom jewelry and a very hands-on approach. But I want to start with the person behind the bench. Who is Jenni outside of the goldsmith block? And what brought you to do this kind of work?
I was one of those cool, but not actually cool, like weird art kids in high school. You know, the cool kids. And I tried everything. My parents were really supportive, which was great. So I did oil painting and I did photography and I just tried my hands at everything. And I wound up doing like an early college program at Maine College of Art up in Portland. Mm-hmm. And you get to do an elective. And I wanted to do photography because all the cool art kids think they want to do photography. It seems like easy and lucrative and it's going to be awesome. So that class was full because everyone wanted to do it. But there was room in the jewelry class. And I was like, well, I like working with my hands. That's something I haven't tried yet. I'll try my hand at it. We'll see how it goes. And I got home and was like, I need an anvil. I need a blowtorch. I need a set of hammers. This is the best thing I've ever done. I never want to look back. Mm-hmm. That year for Christmas, I got a big box full of all of those things.
Okay.
And that was it. And I still use those tools. Like I still have that blowtorch. I still have those hammers. I still have my little baby anvil. She's like 4 inches long. I love her very much. It was phenomenal. And I just never got off that train. So just a lot of exploration of different mediums, but jewelry just has everything I love. Mm-hmm. It's creative, but it also, like, I love math and I love science, and there's so much of that involved in jewelry because there's a fair amount of chemistry to it. There's some engineering to it. It's always solving a puzzle. you get to work with your hands on a really small scale. It's really personal to a lot of people, but it's also so visual, and you have to be a creative thinker to figure out how do the pieces go together. It's very methodical, and it's very intentional to put a piece of jewelry together. So it was just phenomenal.
I love that. So it's like it's in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, you're connecting the dots of like jewelry. How cool is that? And I love the vocation behind that. I graduated from a vocational high school, and I love that we had to do like a shadowing exploration program so
cool.
that you could just kind of go through all the things, figure out what was yours. It's so funny because I ended up in like machine drafting where you're strapped to a desk all day and just drawing like lines, which is like the bane of my existence. I just want to draw circles. But I also realized your parents send you on a path. Also, it was the hardest class to get into, so that shows you the overachiever in me. That was really a thing. But I really liked those classes, like the metal fabs and the things where you got to bend and create and
so
do
satisfying.
that kind of stuff. And any vocational kid will tell you we love to put together like our own things, like whatever it is. We love to do the hands-on. So I love that. So it's exploration in all of not the traditional creative arts. I think that sometimes we think about them like even though you tried the fine arts, but you really got into some of the things that we don't get access to. So I love that your Christmas present was literally asking for like anvils and blowtorches.
And that's all I was just like, I need the stuff to keep doing this. It's such a cool thing. And it's not something I would have had access to had I not happened upon it kind of by accident. Yeah. It was great. And the teacher's name is Lauren Fensterstock. She's amazing. And she makes these teeny tiny silver houses. Like she makes these incredible little pieces, and she was phenomenal. And in that course, you do cold connections, you learn to solder, you really kind of explore all of the different components that then give you a baseline of skills. And it was only 1 month long. But I was like, this is it. This is totally it. I never want to do anything else. And that was 2002.
Oh, I love that.
And it was incredible. It was
the
so
connection,
awesome.
knowing when it's the thing that you like want to do. There's no turning back.
No.
We're going forward here. I love that. Every business person listening heard you say cold connections, and they were like, wait, you mean cold calling? And I was just like, took me a second. I was like, cold connection.
Very different kind.
Yeah, you're going to have to teach me about this later. I love this because I'm all things connection. So let me learn something new. I love this. Let's dip into the how a little bit, right? How, because we know who you are, and it took exploration and creativity to find your thing and your groove. How did you come to build not just a jewelry business, right, but one that centers ethics, artistry, and human connection? Was there a specific moment, right, when you were forming the business that you're like, I'm going to do this my way?
Yeah. So I don't know if there's one big one, but there's definitely a series of many little ones.
Connect the dots for us.
I wound up going to Pratt Institute. So I did go to art school, and I have a degree in jewelry design and metalsmithing. And then I studied under a German-trained jeweler after school. There's a lot of continuing education afterwards. The education I got at Pratt was very like design focused, and so it's very theoretical and very. There's a lot you don't necessarily learn in school. Which is great because I learned a lot of the design theory and a lot of the foundational things you need to know. And then you start learning a lot more of the very technical skills like stone setting, which I loved. Learning and teaching myself how to stone set or teaching myself how to build in CAD was great, but you have to work within the industry to do that. And so I worked under other jewelers. I worked for other jewelers. I built those companies up. I helped develop systems for them, and seeing how the jewelry industry works is super disheartening. It's gross. The jewelry industry is not delightful. Everybody
it's not as bright and shiny as we think the jewelry is, huh?
No, it's gnarly. I mean, there's a reason people think of jewelry salespeople as used cars salesmen. Like it has a bad reputation, and it's largely earned it. And I didn't get into jewelry because I want to sell it. I got into it because I love making it. And it's such a personal thing. And so when I got to a point that I was working for a company and doing a lot of the work the design work, the consultation with the people I was making pieces for, and then I was making those pieces, and it was feeling really impersonal. And I was also, as the maker, not feeling like it just didn't feel like I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I had what I needed to just do it myself. So I did.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it took a lot to get there. Like, it took a long time to realize I can do this and I can do it for myself and it can go the way I want it to. And that felt really good. That felt really good.
That's such a reinforcing moment for people that start to open up to the possibility and become aware of, like, oh, I have everything I need. I can do this.
Yeah.
And for those people that are like, what's stopping me? This is like the story they need to hear, because the truth is a lot of us have all the things that we need. The question would be, is what's stopping us from doing it our way? And at least with the women I work with, I just look them in the face with love and I say, no, it's usually you.
Yeah.
It's usually, we just need to recognize that sometimes.
And I am chronically underconfident. I have imposter syndrome like every other entrepreneur I've ever met. I am a super introvert, which most people are horrified and very surprised to learn if they've ever worked with me before. It took a lot to get there, and all of the jewelers I worked with or worked under, I got so much value from. I learned so much, and the opportunities that I was able to make for myself because I was working for them were invaluable and gave me the foundation I had. But when I got to the point that I realized, well, I can totally do this. It's time. And the real turning point was actually, I made my own engagement ring. It was my second one. It had been a couple years, and everyone was like, oh, my God, you're a jeweler. Did you make your own engagement ring? And it was designed by a friend of mine who I love very much. He was great. He was another jeweler in my program. I adore him, but it was like very much designed by a boy.
Yeah.
And was not my jam. So then I would have to qualify it. So I was like, I'm just going to make my own so that when someone asks me that question, I can be like, yes, I did. And it was super technically difficult, and I'm really proud of it. And that ring got featured in Martha Stewart Weddings in the September issue, which was very exciting. But because I made it while working under another jeweler, it had that jeweler's name next to it, because that's how that works. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I think it would be cool if my work had my name next to it.
Yes.
I think maybe this is the time. And that was the turning point.
I love that. True ownership. Hold on, let me connect some dots here real quick, because I love these conversations, because there's always a couple of nuggets in it for me that I feel like I can pull from, because you're not only just sharing your knowledge and who you are, but you're sharing some really valuable lessons. I just want to say shout out to anybody that knows what CAD is, because when you said that, I was like, you're after my engineering heart.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about ownership and identity. So I don't forget these. I'm saying them out loud. But it's like when you make that decision to say, I'm going to do it my way, what I felt in that moment, as you said it, is like, that's true ownership of your business, right? Because we can be the founders, we can be the CEOs, we can even say we do, in fact, own the business because we start it. But I think that you just really punctuated what true ownership is, and not just owning the business or owning who you are, the brand, but just really owning the fact that you can do things your way. I find in my work with women, identity comes up in a lot of different ways. But when people ask me, why did I brand myself the dot connector? Well, mostly it was because somebody called me that, and I said, I like how that sounds.
Awesome.
The marketer in me was like, I like how that sounds.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And they explained it, but the backstory I say behind that is they also introduced that name to me at a point where I was just sick of people calling me. I was in marketing and business development at the time. People calling me the girl that sends the emails. Oh, you're the girl that makes things pretty.
Yep.
Or, oh, the gal that does our marketing.
Yeah.
Like things like that. And I would just be like, okay, my dad would be extremally pissed off right now because like my parents named me Mikki Wilson. And at least we could say, Mikki that sends the emails. Like at the very least. And so I kind of went on a way to really own and identity outside of a 9-to-5 employee position.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about that photo, this amazing, technically difficult ring that you designed, poured your literally love, heart, energy into, I can imagine just the when you see it under the house of somebody else, because I think a lot of people that have had employment before have created under somebody else's umbrella. But the kind of hard truth is when you step outside from under the umbrella, those things don't necessarily come with you. But I think they have a way of showing back up in our work. And for you, I think that it sounds like the connection was like, not only are we going to really own this business and do it my way, but we are never going to put our intellectual property, our creative genius, we're not going to let somebody else have their stamp on that.
It was huge. And to recognize that, like, I didn't just make that ring. Like, I did all of the work to get it where it was, and I deserve to have my name on that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it that way. And then keeping my name as the brand for the business, always, I have such mixed feelings about that still. Because again, chronically underconfident, super introvert. Having my name as the brand always felt a little nerve-wracking to me. But for me, so much of it is also not about ego. Who is Mr. Zale? Is there a Jared? No one knows. Can you go in and talk to that person? Absolutely not. I want people to know that, like, I'm in that room. I'm in the shop. You can come talk to me.
Yeah.
Who is Kay? Is Kay in there? Is it like, what's happening? So Jenni Stuart you can talk to her. I am accountable to every piece that leaves that room. And I think that's really important. And so I wanted my name on my work, not just because I wanted people to know the work that was going into it, but also that I'm responsible for it, and I'll stand behind it, and I'll stand behind it all the way. And I think for fine jewelry, that's really important too.
I love that. Yeah, we're never going to be able to unhear commercials now the same. We're going to be like, who is Jared?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's important. I like to bring in like the economy and the external like market, like the things that are going on outside of our screens, outside of our stores, and all of that too. But you touch on something very important that I think that consumers look for it, right? The ones that are very aware and intentional when they're buying something. But what I'm seeing now is with the dollar being spread thin, with a lot of distrust out in just general within society, with a lot of misinformation online, people actually want to know that a human touched this product.
Yes.
Even more so than just being the person that maybe put it together. So that thought, that creativity that you put into the process, the design before that creation, and it becomes the tangible item.
Totally.
That's the value right now.
It's huge. And even like if you bring your dad's chain in because it has a broken clasp, you're leaving your dad's chain with someone.
Yeah.
Is it a salesperson who's been taught a script to tell you what to do to leave your piece for repair? Or is it someone who's going to hear the story about who that chain belonged to and why it's meaningful to you, and absolutely treat that chain with the reverence it deserves when they bring it through and explain to the bench jeweler, whose name is Wendy, who you can meet when you bring it into the shop and drop it off, by the way. And she's incredible. I think that's important. And you're going to look at the bench where she sits and where that repair is going to take place. You see everything because it's an important piece to you, and so it should be important to us too, and it is.
I love that. Yeah, we're losing that part of the story behind the things we buy, the story that goes with it, the experience you have when you go in there, because that also creates that sense of nostalgia that people are buying into. That's kind of like the advanced purchase, right? It's like, I'm going to be able to look back on this moment. So It's a super special thing that you do for people. And then shout out to women supporting women. I'm coming in to see Wendy. And honestly, I have more jewelry. We're just going to bring the jewelry box in and figure out what we can do with the stuff at this point. So I love this. So I always love to kind of to start to wrap up with the why, because the truth is, business is hard right now for everybody. Even if you're in the best circumstance, you feel the difference from before 2020, these past years. So I always like to focus on the why, because even on the hardest days, when we don't want to show up for ourselves, when we're just like, can we have the break, right? Can we not be on the camera? Can we just have the break? There is something that drives us to do what we do and how we show up. So I'm curious, what keeps you inspired to keep creating, especially in an industry where mass production, right? We hear terms like fast fashion and things like that, and those are the norm. What makes the work that you do meaningful for you personally?
That's the easiest question of all. Jewelry is so personal. Fine jewelry in particular. It's not inexpensive. And so it's important. When people come to us for something, we're commemorating something, we're celebrating something. There's always a story behind whatever project that we're working on. So 80 to 90% of what we do is custom. Most of that is engagement and wedding rings. A lot of it is resetting family stones, because a lot of people can't do that. If you're not actually making your pieces, that can be a really hard thing to accommodate. So we're working with people on incredibly meaningful, incredibly important pieces. That is so inspiring. That is an incredible human connection that we get to make every single day. And that's the real magic. Like the stories that we get to hear and the role that we get to play in some of the most important moments in anyone's life. How could you not want to get up and do that every day? It's absolutely incredible. One of the things I love about CAD is the way that it has streamlined custom design for us. I was classically trained to hand build, and I hand built every single ring for about 15 years. And it's great, but it's time consuming and it makes it really expensive. CAD and designing things on the computer has made custom design really efficient, and that makes it a lot more accessible. So one of the things I love about what we do is being able to make custom design available to a lot more people. So we get a lot of younger people, and we also get a lot of people that don't feel comfortable going into a traditional jewelry store because they're not comfortable or they don't feel that they'd be welcome. And that's my favorite part of my job. We get to work with people who never thought they'd have the opportunity to have the experience of designing something for themselves to celebrate something really important. And there is nothing like that in the entire world. We love that we get to do that for people. And that's why we do it every day.
That's the coolest thing. I love the level of personalization, customization. You really build the story into the jewelry and the love and the energy that goes with that. And I just want to say, I really respect and did not miss that. Yes, there are people that need access to jewelry that would not feel comfortable or welcome inside of, the traditional jewelry stores that we see. And that's not a shot at any particular jewelry store, but we need to go. We want more places where people can be seen and heard authentically and still walk away with the same experience as everybody else.
100%. So our whole mission, and anyone who comes to, we have 2 locations, but anyone who comes to either one of them, it doesn't feel like a jewelry store at first. We have a lot of people who come in and and they're like, oh man, you guys make rings? And I'm like, indeed we do. It's most of what we do. I don't want it to feel that way. I want it to feel really welcoming. Anyone can walk in and feel super comfortable, and then we will champion whatever you are interested in, what you want us to do. And that's what we love to do. That's what we're there for. And it feels so good, and it's so fun.
I love it. I can feel it through you. I'm like, look, this is why I do what I do. I just love learning more and the deeper, because this is the stuff people don't just need to hear about relatable stories in business, but like this is the heart of people-centric businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because we're just trying to get people to find the right people in the right places for the right things they need. So I love this. One of my favorite things to do as I close us out, I always have a bonus question because I love working with women. I know that sometimes we forget to put the oxygen mask on and ask for support, right? Because we're out here growing businesses and doing all the great things. So one of the things I like to ask is, what kinds of connections or support would help you continue to grow, not just the business, but your craft, your creative vision?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know.
Oh my goodness. We've worked really hard to develop a network of relationships within the jewelry industry. I'm incredibly picky about ethical sourcing, and those relationships can be hard to find. So like I have an incredibly short list of stone suppliers that are basically direct to mine. Like my favorite sapphire supplier, his name is Johannes, and I love him so much. He leads my dream life. He like lives in Sweden. He travels the globe. He finds families who have found gemstone deposits on their land, and he helps them mechanize their mining to make it more efficient and accessible.
So cool.
And then do their own stone cuttings. Like he's my entire supply chain. And the money I spend on those stones goes to the people who find those stones. Everything's ethically sourced. They care about their land because it's their legacy. They care about the miners because it's their brothers and sisters. It's absolutely incredible. More connections like that. But I also think that takes more people who care the way that he does, and more people who understand how the jewelry industry needs to change, and how, he saw a need that there are these small mines and there are these small operations, but they're in a part of the world that isn't able to get access to independent designers like me. And he was like, I can be that bridge. I can be that dot connector. He was like, I can do that.
Yep.
And so he fulfilled that role. And I wish it was easier to find people like that who could do that. And I think there's room for that in every industry. It's absolutely incredible. And I wish there was more of that, because sometimes I have a call or I have a client who wants a really specific shade of sapphire. And I'm like, let me just call up Mother Earth real quick and tell her the exact shade and the exact size and the exact shape. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. Those industry connections can be tough. Sometimes it can be limiting to get exactly what we need, but still adhere to the really strict ethical standards I have. I would love more of that. I don't know how realistic that is. But
we're calling it in. Look, we didn't start this podcast for nothing. Because
that's my wish list.
I
right
always joke, right, is that and the more specific, the better. But like
I'm
when
manifesting it.
we speak out the types of connections we need, but especially on a platform like this, I told you earlier, my whole goal is to elevate and amplify people. But if there is a listener, you're listening to this episode, you are a disruptor in the jewelry industry, especially if you're a woman, but more importantly, if you have the connections that Jenni needs. The show notes are a great place to connect. Jenni,
Need it.
Where can we find you when you're on the block?
Oh my God, I love that. I almost never leave Salem. I'm always in Salem. I'm always downtown. I'm in one of my two shops. I am never far from those two locations.
I love this.
Yeah, that's just where I'm at. So I'm either in 79 Washington Street or 24 Front Street or somewhere in between walking.
There's that, finding coffee or just taking a break.
Yeah, that's the one.
Jenni, you are the best. I would never be able to tell this was your first time doing a podcast. That means we have to do many more with you.
Great.
But I just want to thank you. We're going to share all the info and the good stuff for people. But I just want to thank you for sharing your story and really letting people know that it is okay to own the way that you want to do things and really claim your identity. So Thank you for being
Thank you.
gold. See how
Well
we do
done.
that? I love it. So, my friends, that's it for today's episode of Creativity Connects with yours truly, Mikki Wilson. A huge thank you to my friend Jenni Stuart for sharing not just what she does, but who she is authentically and reminding us that the real story is always deeper than the brand or the business. This podcast is brought to you by Creative Collective, a business support program providing modern resources, strategy, and connection for small businesses and creators, because building something meaningful shouldn't mean that you're doing it alone. If you want to learn more about Jenni Stuart and her work, check the show notes for links and ways to connect. And if something in today's conversation resonated with you personally, share it with someone who needs to hear it. These stories are meant to move and connect us all. Until next time, keep building, keep connecting, and keep showing up as who you are. I'm Mikki Wilson, your favorite dot connector, and this is Creativity Connects.